say Weird Al keeps looking younger, so then it's like maybe he takes the
Wait, who?
Weird Al.
Weird Al.
He keeps the closing, like, if you listen to a song, like, really, like into it, like, he has, like, little, like, quotes where, like, when he's talking about the government, that's true, but he said it closes too much, so and you have to put those together in different songs.
I'm down. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
I don't roll that way, but appreciate it.
Who wants to go next? E? Sean? Sure.
Sean? So, I think that democracy is under attack in a way in the country because we kind of only have two choices with politics. We have the Republican Party, Democrat Party. We do have Green Party and other parties, but they're so small that they don't really get a say. So you only have two options of politics. You have either the Republicans, which are more right-leaning, getting more extreme right, and you have the Democrats, which are kind of sticking to the platform of neoliberalism, the extreme center of just staying left on certain topics and right more corporate. So there's no viable politics for us to get all the way to the left if you wanted. So with that, you're kind of stuck with two choices. You can vote for a third-party candidate, but it's so small, it's not really going to do anything about it. And actually, George Washington warned us against political parties because he says it would divide the country and going through that, and that's kind of what's going on right now in the country. That's what I'm seeing more and more. People are saying ideas. They're saying, hey, I play for this side, you're the enemy, because you go for the other side. But it's not trying to come together to get a solution, which is what a democracy is supposed to do. Now it's kind of a war against parties, against sticking with your base, what they want, more or less, and with that, it's really coming under attack for all of the people around us. So everybody wants to have their own voice, but now we're kind of stuck with two choices, and that's all we have so far, unless you can kind of get together and rise up if you want to. So that's kind of my take on what's going on in the country so far.
Appreciate it, Sean. Yep. What's your name?
Valerie. So, on the one hand, I think democracy is definitely under attack. We have a crazy person, in my opinion, in the White House. There's a Yiddish word for it, called Meshuggah. He's also what the former mayor Bloomberg of New York called him. He's a con man. And it's really, everyone is stressed. And I just reconnected with an old friend who's up in Canada, near Toronto. And I said, are you coming to California anytime soon? And he's like, I don't think I'm coming to the United States because what's going on there. They're so, the rest of the world is watching. However, on the other hand, I think that democracy is in fuller bloom than it's ever been. Like tonight and what you're doing, people are talking to each other. People are concerned. People are getting involved. People are having opinions. People are talking to their neighbor, sometimes civilly, sometimes not. But that there's an awareness that I think hasn't been activated for many years. And I grew up in the 60s and Vietnam War, and there was a lot of people getting involved because the guys, at least, could be drafted and go to war that they didn't agree with. So young people were really activated. But I think this is going through a period of extreme kind of trauma for our country, that I'm hopeful that this can be an opportunity that awakens people, and all kinds of people from every walk of life. Because, for example, with the healthcare issue, it's like it's not about, the choice is, to have it or not in terms of, people's lives. And so, in every walk of life, people are getting involved with, like, the divisible movement. So Congress, the congressmen hearing from their actual, constituents, this is the most powerful democracy in action that I've ever seen in my lifetime. So,
Thank you.
get to work.
Hell yeah, good work. Another.
Yeah. What was your name again?
Valerie.
Valerie. I'm Jane, and what's interesting is that was exactly what I was thinking. That if we think about democracy just being the lowest form of democracy, which is just showing up to vote for a presidential election, that's not what democracy is about. This is what democracy is about. It's like when we're marching down the street as a, representing, saying we're opposed to police brutality, or we're opposed to Trump's administration taking away our rights as women, our rights, our health care rights, and we're shouting, this is what democracy looks like, right? And this is part of that. So I'm 100% in agreement with you there. And it's really tempting to kind of want to respond to what other people are saying, but it's really more important for me to say, like, what was I thinking? And that was what I was thinking. And so I'm 51 years old, and it's nice to be in a room full of young people to hear where you're coming from now. Because I don't think I was totally aware at your age. I probably didn't become aware until I was about in my 30s. So I'm really, my other sort of impression that I want to talk about has nothing to do with your topic, but that I'm really impressed to see so many young people that give a shit.
Wonderful. That's all the E's.
I have one.
You have an E?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Daryl, and it's the first time I've been here to the Free Discussion Society. Is American democracy under threat in 2017? I have no clue. My grandmother watches a lot of Fox News, so that's on constantly. And a couple of months ago, if you remember, Trump had that news conference when it was just him and the press. And I heard it on NPR, and I thought to myself, there's no way this guy's getting out of this. Like, there's no way that people support this guy. And so I come home, and the first thing she says is, did you see the press conference? And I said, I sure did. What did you think? And she, I swear to God, said, he really gave it to the press, didn't he? And so many things, but also in that vein, family members who are on the other side of the political spectrum, I go to their houses and I see MSNBC on everyone's TVs, which is fine, but to me that's more like the opposite, like what Fox News does. MSNBC found what they can do for liberals and support that agenda. And the one thing that keeps getting to me that Trump says is fake news, fake news, fake news. Well, I don't know where to find real news anymore. And I wish that I could get a news source that gave me what I needed to know in an unbiased way, but even the news sources that claim to be central, in my opinion, seem to either lean left or right. So, and I know when I say this, a million people come up to me and say, no, this is where you can get your news. This, you can really trust these guys. But even those sources are subject to the person that I got that information from. So is American democracy under threat in 2017? As a millennial, I wish I knew, and I wish I knew how to know. And that's what I have to say.
All right, that's all the E's, I think. Do we have an F?
Too late to draw a letter.
No, this is a free discussion society.
F for beyond.
Good job, Ben.
So no F. Anybody with a G? H? H.
My name is Paige. Hi. I don't think it's under threat. I think it's been dead for a very, very long time. Democracy only exists for the lucky individuals. It only exists for the elite. And by that, I mean predominantly white heterosexual men. It's not their fault. It's the system that they were raised in. but honestly, like, democracy means, like, for the people, and I honestly don't think that exists, because it only exists for a certain type of people. There are a lot of people in this room who have not even experienced democracy, who have experienced discrimination, and just to be honest, I don't think it has existed for a very, very long time, especially under the current system, not just with the presidency, but the system of capitalism that caters towards just a very select few people. And yeah.
Appreciate it. Age, buddy. Aye. Yes.
So I'm sitting here around this room listening to a lot of people's comments, and I'm kind of brought to mind of a lot of different things. One of the things I'm reminded of is Abraham Lincoln said during the Civil War that he made a point that said that if an invading army came and tried to take a drink out of an American river, the only way that that would happen is if an American citizen let him drink that water. And it makes me think about, do we have democracy? And it also kind of goes back to some of the other things about, is it dead, like Paige was saying, or not. One of the things that I think about is democracy is a process. It's not a political party. It's not an election. It's a process. So the fact that we all have a guy who's president now that I don't think too many people in this room are happy about, but got into power, and a large section of our population, whether we agree with them or not, are happy about it, means that their votes counted. Now, what does it mean to have an invading army give you a drink of water? It means that people drop out of the system and quit participating, which is why there was an awful lot of apathy that allowed an asshole, pardon my French, like that to get elected. Because when it counted most, the millennials didn't show up to vote. The blacks didn't show up to vote. A particular very vocal, angry section of our population, white, male, Anglo-Saxon, Protestants, showed up to vote. Is it alive or is it dead? I think it's more alive now than it was 12 months ago.
Yes.
I think it's more alive now because we see what happens when we don't defend the liberties that we were born into. Is it alive or dead? It's up to every single person in this room. I would say that it's alive right now. I would say that it's alive, but it's on penicillin and it's really sick and needs to get healthy. I would say that the most important part of it is in education. Because there's an awful lot of people who voted for this clown because they bought into the con man's routine. And that can only happen if you don't understand the world and how it works. And you didn't get an education. But education is vital. Because if you're stupid and ignorant and you vote, and you're voting because that's what the media tells you to do or what the con man tells you to do, instead of really having the capability to think your way through it, you might as well just throw your vote away. You're going to get conned every time. That's my opinion.
What was your name?
Joe.
Joe? Thank you. J. The letter. No? K?
I had the letter I.
Do you want to go?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
I want to agree somewhat with Valerie. I think it's more alive than it has been in that a lot more people are becoming aware and becoming more involved because of what's been going on with the past election of the current president. And like Joe was saying, education is a very important part of not just our society, but for democracy and, educating yourself about what is going on.
Appreciate it. J, K, no, L, yes.
Oh, hi, I'm Judith.
Hi, Judith.
Sounds like an AA meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I am a patriot, and that's the first part of recognizing the problem. My name is Joe, and I'm a patriot.
Start timing me in.
Sorry.
They don't even say hi, Joe. They just say your name. Hi, my name is Joe. Joe.
Yeah.
Really stupid. I've been to a lot of them. They're like,
Glad you made it.
and then they
Right
do.
before you go.
Keep coming back. It works if you work it. What's this?
Wait, Judith was up on the block here.
Yeah. Well, Leonard Cohen said
Yeah.
democracy is coming to the USA, but I'm not sure he was right. I don't think he was right. This country was not founded as a democracy. I mean, 2 senators per every state, that's not democratic. Thomas Jefferson said back when, corporations would be the ruination of this country. He was against allowing the corporate status. Abraham Lincoln was worried about corporations. My biggest thing is the fact that through 12 years of public education, our citizens are brainwashed into being passive. You cannot have 12 years of an authoritarian system and expect people to come out participating in a democratic society, or allegedly. So, well, that's just the main thing. We're turning out, the part of the proof is that of registered voters, only 40% voted. And we don't even know the percentage of eligible voters who are not registered. So it's only a minority of people that give a damn enough to at least go vote. The rest of the people figure, they've been trained to believe you cannot make a difference. By 12 years of public school. And I agree with everything Paige said. I thought that was great.
Thank you, appreciate it. That was L. M? Just one M? Yep.
Okay, I'm Lori. I came here not really knowing what to say, but as I'm listening, I do want to say that we do have, like, I say that our democracy is under threat to the way that things are happening that are shaking it, but people are stepping up and making their voice heard. I see people that wouldn't usually defend certain groups of people who are now defending them. There's, when we did the Women's March, the time at the airport, there's a lot of people that are standing up for people who at one point were the enemy, and seeing people coming together in unity and defending our rights so that we still have the freedoms that we have when they're trying to be taken from us. That's something that makes the democracy a little more prominent. And what you're saying as far as the younger generation getting involved in it and understanding it more and wanting to be that voice is something that you don't see that often. And we're saying, like, it happened during wartime because it was affecting people's homes, and then it just kind of settled down and nobody's, really cares, and then it comes back around to where, okay, it's affecting families, it's affecting our neighbors, it's affecting people we work with. So now let's stand up and make our voice heard again, because we don't want these things to happen. And for me, I just feel like that's something, the unity is there, and it's kind of there because we're able to do that. We have that freedom of speech, and we have those freedoms that we can do that.
That was M. Anybody with an N? O? 2 O's. Who wants to go first?
I was just gonna say that.
You're up.
I'm up, okay. Let's see. For me, it's always been hard to imagine us as America as a democracy because of the way that our system works. The way that I imagine democracy is as a direct democracy, not necessarily a representative democracy. I would like to be able to vote on issues such as, like, should we go to war? Should we be able to own guns? Things like that. I would like to be able to vote on issues as opposed to voting for an individual to make decisions for me. For that reason, I see such a hold on the American government that it's hard to see either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party being opposed to corporations, because it's impossible, and that makes me uncomfortable, and it makes me feel like I don't have that my voice is not as strong as it could be if our democracy was more direct.
Thank you. JT?
First, I'd like to use this little smart, intelligent black box device. So I just type in the word democracy on the Google machine. And it says, a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives, is the noun democracy. And so I think one of the part of the description, all of the eligible members of the state, no, as was stated before, I don't think all of the eligible members of the state are choosing to speak up and vote. I myself, and I didn't vote in this election because I was just so almost disgusted with my options. I was a supporter of Bernie Sanders and that movement. But even then, I didn't feel like I had a voice with my particular vote because, it goes towards a representative, which might not necessarily even feel the same way I do. But I definitely agree with, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Khadijah.
I'm sorry?
Khadijah?
One more time?
Khadijah. Khadijah.
I really like the idea of, if we had the option to choose where our tax dollars went to, as if, you had an allotted amount, say, yeah, there's certain things that are going to this particular thing because that needs to be, but then there's these extra things, where would you like them to go to? That would be really cool. If we had a voting structure like that, everybody would go in there, I think. But it's done in such a way that it's so esoteric, the knowledge. You have to be in these certain societies to even have access to some of the really valuable knowledge, and the stuff that we're fed is programming, I believe. We're made to, even I'm just as much, I have this little thing and then I go on Facebook and stuff, and even that, I think where we need to hear the news is, I just got back from Germany, or Europe, and London and Italy, in the public transportation, when you're in tube, you listen to conversations, and that's where you hear the real stuff that's going on in people's lives. And even in that situation, when people are packed so tightly together, they start to distance themselves, and you see people in the tube, we don't have this public transportation, but we here have these automobiles, and so we have even bigger distance. And so since we're not even able to look each other in the eyes, we just see these big cars, we're honking horns, and so I think some of the things that really need to change to create democracy in a way that all of the people are contributing and making a positive impact are transportation, education, and just as much in the pharmaceutical industry. So you look at democracy run by a whole. No, all of these things are run by a very few people, and they're all kind of probably working together in some way to keep that monopoly. And I think there's enough people now that are starting to realize, with some of this technology and with political discussions like this that happen, that there's enough awareness now that there's a little bit of traction. And so if I were to take that traction and be like, hey, now I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders, if I would have taken that little bit more of initiative, as well as everybody else that may be eligible to vote, then yeah, maybe we would have been in a little bit more of a democratic situation. But seeing that now our country is led by people who run large corporations, and so I see democracy as the name for the sheep that was slaughtered to uncover the wolf. And who knows what that wolf wants? Maybe that wolf is actually something that's really good. You know, if we look at our presidential candidates, Trump, you know, I don't know if there's ties to Russia or anything. I don't know is there too much time? Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to you, so just keep that true shot. Sorry, there's time limit.
No worries, thank you.
It's gonna be democratic.
Haha.
Okay. O. P. Anybody with a P? Nobody got a Q. Right. R. S. Somebody's holding out. T. There we go. Oh, you.
I am a person who tries to be indifferent. Rafa, I try not to care too much about titles either, names either. But for the sake of simplicity, my name's Rafa. I believe that the problem really lays in a lot of the way we approach problems nowadays. Before democracy was put in place by Greeks, the idea behind making a political structure was to attack and approach problems in a way that everyone had a voice or say in things. And it worked back in the day because it was a lot smaller, there was a lot less people, population wasn't as wide, but nowadays it's become, you know, it is as packed as it is, an overpopulation problem in some people's eyes, and in others it's just a part of an expanding world that we're in. I don't think the problem lies with democracy or, you know, communism or anything in that regard. I believe the problem lies in the way we approach things, the parameters. Things are always shifting, but if we try and keep forcing the same old systems that we thought worked at some day and age but don't hold up now, then the problem isn't that. The problem is we're not updating, we're not changing to meet the problems, we're just trying to use old systems. And within that, the problem obviously lays that democracy at this day and age has become a thing that is controlled and run by private interests, private corporations, people that hold more monopoly in the societies through money or other means. And that's not the way a democracy or a true democracy is supposed to work. People are supposed to make the choices based off, you know, coming to agreements and understandings and voicing their opinions together as a group, not leaving people out or making people feel like only a certain amount or a certain group of people in society hold that power. That's not a true democracy. So I believe that we need to educate people better in these things. We shouldn't force ideals because that's part of the problem. That doesn't make us any better than the problem. To say that that being a Democrat's the solution or that being a Republican's the solution. The problem lays within binding ourselves to even that, to saying that you'll only vote for a person because you're a Republican is just as dumb as saying that you'll only vote for a certain party because you're a Democrat. That's the problem. The problem isn't, you know, that we try and say that one side is right, one side is wrong. It's that we're not trying to find compromises. We're not trying to do things the right way anymore. We're always trying to fight and argue and see who's more right than who, but that's not the issue. The issue is who's resolving the issues, and it turns into clown politics. Who can name call who can avoid the problem more than who can turn it into some kind of drama, and that's not the way things are supposed to be run. I feel that, and that's the problem. It's not that democracy is alive or thriving. It's what are we doing to, as citizens, as individuals, as people, to keep finding solutions to problems. It shouldn't just be within the politics of things. It should be us as individuals.
Fuck yeah, Rafa.
All right. U. The letter U. B. W.
I got a W. Yeah. My name's Jim, and I don't think democracy is in any more trouble than it ever was because we've never really had democracy. We've had a representative form of government that sometimes does what we want. But in order to get what we want out of the government, we have to vote with our dollars, not just with our votes, because it ends up being that the person with the most money who throws that at the right politician gets what they want. And that's always been the case. That was the case in the Middle Ages, that the rich land barons got what they want, and the rich land barons still get what they want. I remember I turned 18 in the last year of the draft of the Vietnam War. And at that time, I was very mobilized because I didn't want to go to Vietnam. That mattered a great deal to me. And everybody all knew somebody who was in Vietnam, or had gone to Vietnam, or didn't come back from Vietnam. We were all personally connected with that war at the time. So it mattered to us that this illegal war was going on, and it mattered to us that the president was lying to us all the time. So we got excited about that, and we tried to do something to change it. I look at where we're at today, and the Gen Xers and the millennials, well, the millennials, for example, we've been at war most of your life. And it doesn't affect any of our lives on a daily basis. The fact that there's guys dying in Afghanistan and Iraq every single day. I'll bet most of you don't know anybody who's been to Iraq or Afghanistan or is there. Right on. I happen to know a few people, but for the most part, we are completely disconnected from this also illegal war that our government is waging at the moment. But because it doesn't affect us directly, we're not really particularly motivated about it. So now we get a guy like Donald Trump who comes in, who offends our sensibilities so much that we finally get motivated enough to do something. And that's what I encourage the younger generation to do, is get motivated, run for office, march in the streets, vote, write letters to your congressman, call into radio stations, do everything that you can to express your views, because unless we make a huge noise, the money is going to drown us out. Just plain and simple. And they still might drown us out. That's it.
Thank you. Just a few left for the first round. X, Y. So just have a Y and a Z. And that's it for the first round? Yep.
What's the original question?
Is American democracy under threat or thriving in 2017?
Hello, my name is Ben. I think American democracy is thriving. I think American democracy is thriving because we're all sitting here. I think that we're pissed off at some level or curious, and this might be the only place that we have to talk about it. The fact that we can do it without anybody coming down, regulating, telling us to stop, means democracy is thriving. If you want to share your opinions in this country, you can. That's great. I don't know one person in my life who's ever lived under any type of like socialistic system or socialistic government that would ever keep them from saying whatever we want to say right here. I think we're thriving because we can change things. We can have a voice. We can. I'm just trying to like hit this point home. I mean, the answer is just yes. We're thriving. I don't know why I even need 2 minutes to say that. I think it's obvious. The fact that I got a Scrabble piece that had the letter Y on it means we're thriving. So, and we're not hiding. Nobody's hiding here. So, we're all thriving. And I think that there are a lot of emotions that come to, like, if I was to use the rest of my time to say anything other than that answer is, we can have, like, a lot of emotions about things. We can be frustrated about things. And we can be attached to things because of our own life experience and circumstances and the ones we love. And the way that government, the way that our Constitution is set up, which I believe is very, very strong, the way that we have been founded as a nation, if those things are impacting that, or at least we're so emotionally connected to these circumstances that we feel like these government regulations, these politicians, anybody that has the image. Thank you.
All right, Z. So we have the first round.
See, so that was the optimist there saying yes, we're thriving. I'm the pessimist who says, not so much. We're not that thriving as we used to be because we have what's called now ICE that can go into someone's home and just take people out of their home while their children are sitting there crying because they're watching their parents being deported. We have someone who doesn't know where they can go to get true news source. That's not thriving, that's sad. We have our power has been taken away from us because we don't know, we're told that we can only vote Democrat or Republican when there are better choices out there. But goodness forbid, we should vote for them. So, do I think we're thriving? Not in certain areas I do, because now I'm seeing people coming out and talking and uniting and sharing their stories and taking action. But that is a long time waiting, because after the Vietnam War, people started getting comfortable. Reagan years, forget it. We were all inside a happy bubble, taking our good old pills or whatever else in our happy land until Trump and, thank goodness Trump came in, because it finally woke up our society as to what's been going on, what corporations been raping us, and that we're working for the rich so that way they can get richer. We're the slaves. So, that's it.
All right, that's the first round of the Free Discussion Society. Now, we're going to be under a little bit of pressure, some of you. I'm going to ask some questions back to a select few. And hopefully, everybody stays.
Lock the doors.
Is that your final answer?
All right, our first, Jeff left. It's okay.
If anything, I'm probably going to put you on the down left here, but
You can just all right, Sean.
If nobody here can help me, I'm going to have to go back.
Sean, in your opinion, do you think that we in America should have a parliamentary system?
I don't know if anything else could work here, possibly, because we're so kind of in tune with the system that we were in. We're so, money's flowing in, all of these things. It's like you're trying to break a concrete block, and it's kind of almost impossible. The best way would be to try to get a different style of government to go in, either a parliamentary system, a socialist type of government. But here, I don't know that could possibly work, because there's a lot of people that are afraid of that too. They hear the word socialism, they hear anything like that, and they don't really quite understand what it means. They just think, a lot of people think it are lean towards communism or bad things or dictatorship, but yeah, I don't know, it's kind of iffy. It's too much involved with it.
Yeah, I just want, because you talked about the just having the two-party system, so I just wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, sure.
No pressure. Valerie, I think you're enjoying some food back there, I think. Something you said struck me. You said that everybody's stressed out. And I think at least at some point since January, we've all felt a little uneasy, at least at some point. Maybe not, I don't know. Dimitri's fine. I wanted to know, is this the most you've ever been stressed by a president?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I can remember stuff with Nixon and during the Vietnam War, and the thing about wanting to know the truth and being lied to, and undercurrents of power versus powerless. Some of the it's like the ugly side of human nature, and when that really manifests, I really feel. But this has taken it to extremes, I do have to say, and whoever is pulling strings,
Steve
around
Bannon.
the president, yes, is their vision of the world and of humanity is really dark. And but we don't have to accept that. We don't have to live in that darkness, And I really feel like when people, talk to each other, respect one another, that we're moving towards, you know, a world, you know, based on the dignity of human life. And the people that we revere, like Martin Luther King, he brought the whole level of discourse up in an incredible way. And I think we hunger for you know, a level of discourse and thoughtfulness of humanity. And you know, we can make it happen. Starting right here, how people talk to each other, how people are, you know, listening to each other. It's awesome.
Thank you. Jane. Unless you don't want to. No? Okay. You mentioned that you became aware in your 30s. What made you become aware?
Probably that I finally got out of college. Before that, I was cleaning houses while I was studying at Fullerton College for a good 10 years. I think I was, you know, it's kind of one of those things when you're working so hard to try to just stay alive. I think that's why a lot of other people aren't engaged in the democracy, because they don't have the time. Parents that are working 2 jobs to pay the rent, and, you know, people criticize if your kids aren't doing well in school. Well, you know, there's kind of a lot of demands on an individual human. So anyways, I think that's why I didn't become aware. But there was kind of a change, an opportunity at that time too, that in the state of California, the Green Party had ballot status. Nader ran as a Green Party presidential candidate, and a lot of the ideas or a lot of the problems that, you know, we wanted solutions to were being addressed. Those problems were being addressed, and there were real solutions. And that really turned me on to like, there is something out there. I can make a difference. And you know, and a lot of people said, you know, he was gonna get elected or whatever. But it gave me hope that if I vote, even if he doesn't get elected, it shows that there's enough people that they keep coming together and coming together. It's all falling apart, you know. Bernie brought it back together. You know, Democratic Party killed it. We got Trump, frankly, that's in my opinion, because
you get what you deserve.
The Democrats killed the candidate who could have, you know, did what we wanted. You know, that we all could have rallied around, and including those Trump voters, you know, living in the South, that they were the working class people. They could have rallied around Bernie and his ideals. I've gotten very far off topic, but I think it's a matter of having a leader that.
Yes.
Oh God. But having leadership and people you can vote for that actually stand for solving the problems and have the right vision. They're not evil, they're not self-centered, they're not greedy, and they really have something to offer for all of us.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, this is going to be a little bit different than what I usually do. But Daryl said that he doesn't know where to go for news. And I noticed that he has a notepad and a pen or a pencil. You might not like this. Maybe I can't tell if it's a smirk or okay. But I'm gonna for a couple of seconds open up the floor for anybody want to tell him places to get news.
PPFK.
The world. Just go and find out for yourself, dude. That's the best fucking news source ever. And your feet and your
well, in a sense, I would say. Sorry, can I just interject?
Sure.
In a sense, I think that you're right. In a sense, because unfortunately, we have all, it's a big blanket statement, I know, but we have gotten so lazy as a population in listening and accepting whatever shit they pike down through the television at us. Instead of, and I think as a democratic society, if there's a bit of responsibility that we all have, it's to own up to the fact that we should be fact-checking all day long. We should be, anything that somebody says, we should, like Hillary did it during her campaign, during those debates. You could go to her website and, you know, get the bullshit needed for the evening, you know? But the thing is, we should all, so when you said the world, it's really all about, it is the world. But we need to go, we should be Googling, you should go to the libraries, you should be reading books on it, you should be going back and digging into your history, you should be asking all the questions all the time so that we can make up our own minds and our own conclusions, and don't let some soundbite make it up for you.
The BBC actually reports on stuff that happens in other places besides the United States.
There's other places?
And there's really important shit that goes on every single day that Americans never hear about because it didn't happen here. And because it wasn't some white guy's problem.
Russia has some good news channels.
Oh yeah, they got a great one.
They gave us a great president.
There's also BBC America.
Right.
So
PBS, yeah.
But one thing that I mean, we don't have all the time in the world to do all our own research.
Yeah.
And one thing you said, I mean, I think it's true that the most reliable professional news people out there, they take their jobs really seriously, and I have a lot of respect for many of them. And it's true that they may have, a personal bias in terms of what they choose to cover and focus on. So that's kind of built in how we see the world. However, in terms of really serious fact checking and reliability, and the Washington Post and the New York Times, I mean, they used to be not very sexy, but they are the most serious professional journalists who dig really deep, and they stand behind what they say. So
I agree that we can't be expected to research everything, but everyone should have a passion area, and in that area, I think we have, like mine is climate change. I don't think there's any bigger issue than climate change, quite frankly. People who are concerned about on either side of Planned Parenthood, woman's right to herself, or the Catholic Church, for instance, and the right to life, whatever side of it is on, it's all about staying alive, right? And if we fuck climate change, well then... So choose what I'm saying is choose your subject and own that, and become the master of that. It's possible to do that.
Daryl, I apologize for putting you on the spot, but I just wanted to, whatever people have to say about news sources.
I think I'd like secular countries too, like investigate, like check out their newspapers, like go online and everything.
Britain has some good news sources on
Norway.
Norway's
version of Trump down there. Yeah, Dutch had a problem with Trump, but the thing is, like, since Trump fucked up everything here so badly that they're thinking that actually influenced the election over there, and they backed up. But there's actually there's been for like the last couple years, there's been a huge rise of extreme alt-right leaders.
No kidding.
You interview the people in Brexit who voted for Brexit, you're gonna hear that the elites don't understand me. I don't feel like I have a voice. I don't feel like the economy is working for me. And it's literally the exact same reasons people voted for Trump over here.
Yeah, it's the same. I come from Europe, and
Oh.
that's right. This is what happened. My mom lives in England, and this is what happened. Is when you give every time to others the right to change your life or to help you every time, and you rely on others, to solve the problem. Then this is what happened. Trump or Brexit, because there is many people that don't get the right help through community centers. I mean, my mom, she was working for many years for social programs around Europe through bad areas. Sorry for my English.
That's great.
But it's like this. I'm telling you something about the brain. The brain is not made to do simple stuff. The brain is made to do complicated stuff. So what happened in our society? Our life become too simple, too easy. We have a washing machine. We have an oven. We need to do some little step back, because this thing is hurting everybody, the climate change and everybody. So everybody. So this is is the problem. We need to work every day for democracy. It's never end the story. So it's just working every day.
For Daryl, right?
Yeah, for the news source thing on topic. Me personally, what I used to like to do, especially when I was in Mexico, I realized this was a thing because there's like 52 political parties counting, not even including the people that don't get their chime in. News sources can be terribly biased. I remember looking up news sources down in Mexico, and all Google Mexico redirected me to regarding the Catholic Church was about how great it was. Not a single mention about sex scandals, not a single mention about how much corruption there's been in the Vatican, just mentions about how great it is. So you kind of learn to get some perspective about how news sources can be biased. Even if you think you have it unbiased in the U.S., think about it. Your filters, your servers, they're all hosted somewhere in some country, in some state with some agenda. So, for me, what I like to do is just go on Wikipedia. They update it every day. Read a daily featured article. They'll feature, the thing is, there's this big bias about how Wikipedia can't be correct, but here's the thing. It's improved so much. The thing is run by people that check on each other, checking on each other, checking on each other. There's no agenda for this. It's just people that have a pure interest in recording information and sharing it with others. So it's up to you to have the interest to go into that, but that just goes for any news source. Always look into it. That's your prerogative, You get the information you take out of things.
Also, another good thing about Wikipedia is they cite their sources, so you can go directly to the source that they're finding the information from.
I don't like the word bias in talking about news so much. I mean, all of us, when we talk, have an approach based on our lives. Every reporter or their newspaper has a particular approach. I was a reporter. I could write things many different. I mean, if you read the rhetoric of Aristotle, that'll tell you how to write things to produce a certain result. You can do that. You pick the facts that you want to talk about. They're all facts. You can put them in the order that makes a difference. How to and that.
The difference between propaganda and information is the person behind the information.
No, there's no difference. There's no difference whatsoever. Information is a choice of what information you assemble. There's no pure information. You consider. It's not bad. It's just that you understand the source and you develop your own intelligence. As to the anthropologists have a good phrase. They can't know what really happened when they excavate this old village. So they make up stories about what they see and what it tells them they think probably happens. So their phrase is, as to which story to pick, competitive plausibility. So you read your news and you pick your competitive plausibility.
I have a question.
Let me, because he's got to leave soon. Okay, I just want to ask him something before he goes. You mentioned apathy when you talked. And this whole thing is to end apathy.
You're doing a nice job of that.
I appreciate that. So what is the best way to end apathy in your opinion? Ways,
I think that the best thing that has worked to end apathy was everybody feeling like the things that are most precious to us are in danger. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to feel apathetic about your living room being set on fire if you're sitting in the living room. And I think that I think that we have to engage instead of disengage. And I think for the longest time, as a culture, we were incredibly disengaged from each other and from our culture and from our nation. And in the last 18 to 24 months, yeah, right, you live in here and you think you're communicating with people, but it's a sort of like mental masturbation, And
it's an isolation.
Yeah, so I think that it's about recognizing the impermanence of life and your liberty. Things that you don't defend, you lose. I'm sure there's a lot of people lurking around in Trump's back cabinet that would absolutely love to have us lose our liberty. Corporations would love to enslave you.
Coca-Cola, man.
Well, let me tell you that I tell people I think we live in a corpocracy instead of a democracy. We're government by corporation, but I don't think it's ever really been that different. Meaning that if you think back on it, we had an electoral college where the two wealthiest, and senators who were the two wealthiest men in every state were given the power to run their state.
Right.
Well, how is that any different than what we've got now, except they're just a lot larger, plantation owners, that's all. Right?
That's
exactly what we got.
Is that a decent answer?
Perfect.
All right, good night, you guys. Thank you.
All right. So, God bless.